For an hour you follow the muddy track as it twists a tortuous route through the trees of this accursed realm. Baleful eyes observe your path, and yet you choose to ignore them for your sense that these watchers pose no real threat to your safety. They are lowly animals but possess little intelligence and even less courage, though you fancy the latter would not be so if you were weak or wounded. The path ascends a ridge and then drops steeply towards the floor of a mist-enshrouded valley, where you happen upon something that brings you to a halt. A moss-grown skull lies on the path ahead, its jawbone agape as if uttering a silent scream. Beyond it lie two skeletons in rotting mail, half buried in a nest of saw-toothed briar. Then through the mist you see weapons, rusted and mouldering, and the grisly remains of a warhorse. Its
Let me guess, this is the remains of the army that tried to conquer Mogarui.
It would be a good guess. It's the grisly remains of a warhorse, its armored rider slumped astride its back. You are advancing towards the horse when you hear a sound that draws your eyes away to the east. It is a busy squeaking noise, muffled by the dense undergrowth. You leave the path and melt into the tangled trees. With careful steps you edge towards the noise, your senses straining to extract information from your surroundings, until you become almost a part of the forest itself. Then you detect movement ahead, and from the cover of thorny bough, you draw your weapon and wait in readiness. A line of rat-like creatures, each as tall as a youth, is wending its way along the forest path. They are armed with crude and rusty weapons, and clothed in rags that once were worn by human soldiers. Your keen sense of smell detects the vile aroma of disease which hangs heavy about these loathsome rat men, and at once you realize that these must be the Vashak that Rimoa spoke about. Shielded by your Magnica skills, you watch in silence as they fall past your hiding place and slowly disappear. When you are sure they have gone, you sheath your weapon and continue your treks towards Mogaruth. Dawn breaks and the sun appears through a rent in the ominous mass of grey cloud that is swirling overhead. You stop and tilt back your head to enjoy the warmth of its life-giving rays upon your face. It is a brief respite, for within minutes the clouds close ranks, and you find yourself immersed once more in the forest's gloom. During the night, the track has led you out of the valley and up a steady rise towards a plateau, where a jutting spur of slate-grey rock stands surmounted by a score of lightning-blasted trees. There, in the shadow of the rock, your eagle eyes detect three dark pits which have been dug side by side. You cannot see what lies at the bottom of these excavations, but you can sense that they radiate a powerful aura of evil. Do you wish to use divination?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You focus upon the three distant pits and allow your consciousness to pass into the trance-like state that must be achieved to allow your discipline to work. A tingling sensation runs along your limbs, and gradually an image takes form in your mind. From out of the swirling mist there comes into focus a moving scene that is terrible to behold. A vast procession of partially clad soldiers are being herded into the pits by packs of blood-hungry Vashak. They are bound with ropes and many are grievously wounded. They plead for mercy, but their pitiful cries go unheeded, as the snarling savage ratmen stab them to death with their cruelly fashioned spears, before casting them down into the three yawning abysses. Gradually the image fades, and as you return to consciousness you discover that you are lying face down upon the ground. Your limbs shake uncontrollably, and your forehead and chest are bathed in a cold sweat. You have tapped into the powerful residue of psychic force that pervades this site, and the experience has left you in a state of psychic shock. You lose 6 endurance points.
Well,
Damn!
yeah, I do not really blame that, because it was a pretty gruesome event.
Slowly you recover from the trauma and pull yourself to your feet. Ahead, the track crosses the plateau and passes within a few yards of the pits before continuing into a tunnel-like gap in the trees beyond. You advance, but every step that brings you nearer to the side causes your psychic senses to rebel. The images you saw and the aura of evil that lingers here are so strong that you find it difficult to step closer. You resolve to reach the gap at a run, but a sudden noise from behind it arrests you in mid-step. Shambling out of the forest comes a horde of monstrous shapes, corpse-like beings that exist in a twilight between life and death. Perched atop their withered bodies are hairless heads bearing lidless red eyes and gaping maws rimmed with hundreds of needle-thin fangs. As one, they utter a deathly groan, and you feel an icy chill electrify your spine. Fighting to suppress your mounting horror, you turn and run towards the gap. You're within a few yards of the rocky spur when a dozen or more of these fearful creatures appear from the shadows to block your escape. Once more they utter their cadaverous cry and advance upon you from both sides. Desperately you survey the plateau for another means of escape, but there is none. You are trapped. The only choice you have is to face the creatures or retreat towards the pits. Make your choice.
So just them screeching is enough to send us running. So what chance do we have in a fight?
So yeah, flight or fight, and you vote flight. What do you
Yes.
say, Gavin?
Well, we aren't exactly on top of things at the moment. And our job is not to fight random zombie people.
True.
But still, flee into the place that that did such damage to us simply by using our divination skill on it.
That's a good point.
Well, you could also argue that, yeah, that place was not good to our psyche, and these things, well, they do not bleed, but at least they are material, so we can cut them.
So we will fight. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. At least they can, well, break.
We
I
hope.
suppose. Yeah.
You fight? What was it?
Yeah.
Marching shoulder to grisly shoulder, the ghoulish horde advances, hungry for flesh untainted by disease and decay. Hurriedly you draw your weapon and breathe a prayer to the sun god Kai to protect you in this moment of truth. Then with a rush, the first wave fall upon you with a mindless fury. With blurring speed you deal them blows that will resign any mortal to its doom, but the grievous wound draw neither blood nor ichor. Tirelessly you slash and sever their grasping arms to prevent them from clawing you to the ground. They howl, but not in pain. These ghastly cries are joyous and triumphant. For no matter how skillfully you fight, you cannot resist the weight of numbers, and inch by relentless inch, they are forcing you ever nearer to the pits. As soon as you recognize the strategy, you change your method of attack and direct your blows at those parts of the creatures which pass for legs. Yet even now, those parted from their limbs still advance, hunching and clawing their way towards on their bellies, while those who were once behind trample them underfoot. Suddenly, the advances falters and the howling ceases. The grim wall of creatures draw back a few yards and close their ranks in readiness, perhaps for a final attack. Then, as one, they open their mouths and give vent to a laughter the like of which you have never heard before. Knots of pain builds at your temples, and frantically you draw upon your mind's defenses to repel this tidal wave of evil psychic energy. Your magnified defenses are too weak to resist the wave of psychic energy directed against your mind. It tears through your shield and explodes like a fireball of white-hot plasma deep within your brain. Every nerve in your body is scorched by the blast, and as you fight to remain conscious, your body is contorted by excruciating pain. You lose 12 endurance points.
Holy shit.
Okay, this place has an evil background.
As the agony fades and your powers of cohesive thought return, you are dimly aware of another hostile entity drawing closer, attracted by your psychic screams. Then, from out of the black shadows of the pits, you hear a dreadful rumbling roar. Something huge is stirring deep within each of those dark, forbidden shafts.
Oh god, enough with the shafts already.
Not just any shafts, dark, forbidden shafts. As the ghoulish laughter of the horde reaches its pitch, you turn to see three giant, misshapen cat-like heads rise up into the light, each perched atop a snake body as thick as the trunk of a tree. They bare their fangs and shake off the tangle of human bones that cling to their stinking corpse-green manes. The sight of these unholy creatures make you reel back in shock and utter a cry of disbelief. Your cry is lost among the barrage of screeching howls, yet the cat things react as if they hear it, and together they come oozing out from their dark, noisome lairs and glide slowly towards where you stand. Do you wish to use Kai Search?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did it not cost us something?
In desperation, you draw upon your reserve of psychic strength to shape a ball of energy, and then you hurl it at the nearest abomination. It strikes its subconscious, and the beast's eyes shut tight in pain as the force of your mind bites deep into its unshielded cortex. The attack is successful. The creature is wounded and it slithers back into the safety of its pit. Yet despite seeing what has befallen to their brothers, the remaining two creatures continue to advance undaunted. You are now finding the two rule giganites.
What?
Rule giganites.
Rule Giganites.
Rule giganites.
That sounds like an. It sounds like a game console thing.
It sounds like something that a player just conjured up in desperation because he wanted to sound cool. I'm going to call myself Rule Giganite because I pwn people. Lols.
Yeah. In any case, there's nothing here to reduce your combat skill, so that's on 33. No, 43, right?
Yeah.
Go. Okay. Give me a roll the dice. Blah.
I only have one, and it is a 10.
Right. Boom, 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 boom. Right. You dodge an attack from the massive kitty snake thingamajig, and immediately slash out with your mighty blade, wounding the creature deeply. Roll it again.
9.
Right, the other strikes out at you, but you perform a similar song and dance routine, dodging at the last possible moment and slicing deep into the beast as it passes by.
We're still not out of the woods yet.
So, by the way, you may flee now if you want to.
Am I? Yeah, I sort of second that.
What do you say, Warlord?
Yeah, sure, why not?
So, you run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you strike the blow that brings one of the fearsome monsters crashing lifelessly to the ground, you spring away from its score-stained carcass and barge shoulder first through a line of screeching ghouls. The spectacle of the falling giganite and the suddenness of your action has taken the creatures by surprise. Before they can react, you're already sprinted to within a few yards of the leafy tunnel. You glance over your shoulder to see that the shambling horde falling over himself in the haste to give chase. The sight raises your spirit, but the sensation is short-lived, for above them towers a giganite, its mouth full of bubbling phlegm. With a flick of its powerful neck, it sends the massive spitball arcing towards your fleeing form.
Well, dodge.
Ew!
Instantly, you throw yourself to the ground and the foul missile whooshes past, hitting a tree at the base of its trunk. At once there's a sizzling sound, and with a creaking groan, the tree is brought crashing to the ground, its base eaten clean by the acidic saliva. Great droplets of the spittle splash your tunic, and instantly it begins to smolder.
Well, good thing we did not get a direct hit.
The creature's spittle eats through the right arm and back of your tunic, causing you several deep and painful burns. You lose 6 endurance points.
Okay, let me have a look at what our current endurance points would be. And, ladies and gentlemen, we are in a situation where we have 12 health left.
Yes.
Oh, fuck.
Well, remember, you do have that healing surge when you reach 6 endurance points, so that
Yeah,
should
but
help.
seriously, I can just imagine some kind of animation or cartoon, us walking proudly into the woods, and the next thing we know, oh god, no, please don't, I want to live!